Hello YouTube, this is Old School Ted 1. This is an NXT review from last week, but I'm also going to include the information from SmackDown on Friday, the Darren Young bit, as well as the previous week's Raw with David Otunga, which I think is kind of important for the storylines as they're building. But you started last Raw, with Otunga hosting, and the early bits were pretty good. Him making the match with Batista and Cena, and he ended up having Batista walk out against Sheamus for the unified titles. And then he said, "Well, I'm going to be in it." And he had his bits with Santina Marella, who I like. I think he's funny, as well as Hornswoggle, which the kids love. But you had those moments, and then you get to the actual match, and he wasn't bad. I still think he's really sloppy, uh, but he didn't do too bad. But they built that really good spot at the end where Cena was coming over for the hot tag, and he leapt. And as he leapt, Tunga could not have timed it better, but he just dropped off the apron and just kind of walked away, very arrogant, very well done. It reminds me of kind of the Batista character that we're seeing right now. Ushers Batista in, lets him beat the hell out of him, sort of has a little bit of an interchange with Batista, and it turns out pretty well. But then we enter into NXT the next night, and you had the road, what I'm calling the Road Rules or Diva Search Challenge, where they carried the beer keg around. Brian Daniel made me laugh with his carrying skills, like, or Daniel Bryan. Yeah, I still get hung up on name things with him. He had some mini interviews, and the ones that stand out to me was, of course, you have Daniel Bryan poking fun at Michael Cole and Otunga and a few other people, including Miz. It was pretty good. It was. I don't know if they're going for a geek character with him or not, but more on him when we get to his match. And then you saw Michael Tarver saying he's a dangerous man, saying he got cheated in the little challenge thing, and Slater ends up winning the challenge. After that, he gets to fight Kane at the main event, which is a reward, I guess. Kane's going to win, but it's still, with the whole challenges and the value of competition being added into the final statistical adding up thing, I think it's a good reward for them to have. So we leap into the first match where we have Daniel Bryan versus Darren Young, number one versus number eight. Really fast paced and everything, but I think I read online the match was a minute 57. Might be a little bit over 2 minutes, but that's way too short. Then the ending. Okay, story wise, I understand why Darren Young goes over because the whole Straighter Society thing, but it doesn't work so well for Daniel Bryan. And here's my thoughts why. He will have Daniel Bryan will not lose the internet fans. He will not lose the fans who've seen him in ROH. He will not lose fans that have taken time to watch his things on YouTube and seen some of his matches against Kenta or any of his tag matches in his time in Noah because he's brilliant. He won't lose them. Who he may lose are I have a lot of friends that only watch the WWE programming. They'll go only to the WWE website and be part of the universe there. That's all they do. They don't even go on the forums there. All they do is just read the headline stuff, and that's it. And some of them are starting to buy into the Michael Cole thing, even calling him a tool, because they haven't really seen Daniel Bryan do anything yet. And there was the first match with Jericho that was pretty good, but still fairly short. But 2 minutes? 2 minutes for Daniel Bryan and Darren Young. I just hope that they realize that last week may have been a bit too much of a mistake. And look at Superstars this week. You had 4 good matches on it, if I remember correctly, 4 good matches in an hour. Why can't they do that for, instead of doing the carry the beer keg challenge, actually have matches and maybe make it a challenge of submissions only or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, so that was that match. I'm not even going to give that a rating. I'm going to say that's a story promotion and hope be optimistic at that. Moving on to the next match, you had Justin Gabriel versus Michael Tarver. Go look up Justin Gabriel's matches here on YouTube from the FCW. He has a lot larger moveset than just kicks and his big splash move at the end. Michael Tarver got a couple good blows in, but nothing. I want to see more of a moveset from him. I want him to be more dangerous. I want him to sort of really start being sort of an enforcer right now. But we'll see. We'll see. On a scale of 1 to 10, a 5. That was mainly because of the splash at the end. It's sort of what Justin Gabriel's becoming right now. I hope he's not like Yoshitatsu, where it's everyone waits for the big kick at the end to end the match, but we'll have to wait and see. So we move on to the next match, which is interesting. It's a big man match, David Otunga versus Wade Barrett. I didn't quite know how this would turn out, but Barrett's getting much better. I saw him earlier and thought he was sloppy in the first couple episodes, but he's tightening up. He's getting more of his movesets down, kicks, his punches. Everything looks very character motivated in his actions, which I like. His finisher, this is the first time that I really bought it. The fireman's carry over the top sort of thing, and it's probably one of three reasons. One, David Otunga fought it really well in a manner that made it believable. Two, David Otunga's a big guy, so the way that he landed looked pretty good, and that made it believable. And three, though, just the delivery, the fact Wade Barrett took his time as he set up for it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and 1 to 10 for this match, I'd give it a 6. Maybe it's not enough time and no real. Atunga's still really sloppy, unfortunately. Still, nothing really stood out to me from his outside of the offense for that match. Go on to the main event, and you had Kane versus Slater. Slater hit a very beautiful top rope flying crossbody, did a great job with it. Perfect. Kane gave him some spots. Kane's a really good person to put in there with either rookies. He's sort of a gatekeeper type, but you really just kind of saw him really helping Slater out in the ring. Not easily, but he gave him a good match. And Slater didn't look silly in there, which is kind of a good thing. But the ending was actually really well done, with Slater charging out of the corner and Kane catching his throat right in his hand. Actually looked kind of painful. The choke slam was perfect. Sometimes choke slams can be sloppy. This wasn't perfect. Kane wins. Everyone knew Kane was going to win. It was a good match to NXT on, and I hope they kind of have a pro, if not the pros from the show, but from the different WWE shows coming in facing off against the rookies. That would be helpful. So then we move on to SmackDown, where Darren Young apparently had decided to get his head shaved and join the Straight Edge Society. But after hearing everyone ramble on, from Luke Gallows to Serena and to CM Punk, he decided to change his mind. He of the Chia pet hair, or those little troll dolls from a while ago, he changed his mind and shoved off Punk and sort of fought off Gallows for a minute before he ends up getting beat down. Serena got a couple good kicks on him. It looked pretty good. It looked like they're going to shave his head anywhere, and then the music hits, and out comes Rey Mysterio. He clears the rings, does a pretty good job of clearing the ring, and so that wonders how is Darren Young and CM Punk going to interact for this next week. Should be interesting. I'm really liking that storyline. I also like Skip Sheffield, to go back to NXT from last week, saying no more on Mr. Nice Guy. Maybe he'll listen to William Regal. That could be a really interesting pairing. But I think I'm running out of time. This is Old School Ted 1 saying thanks, and I should have an introduction of myself and maybe a few more videos up in the next couple days.